Now it's time to run the numbers, and that means business with Kate Moody. Hello there.
Hi there.
So the U.S. and China are set to sign this very long-awaited trade deal later this week. And there's another sign of good news when it comes to their relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Reports are suggesting that Washington is ready to remove Beijing from its list of currency manipulators. The Trump administration initially made that largely symbolic move about 5 months ago, accusing China of artificially lowering the value of the yuan in order to make its exports more attractive. Now, labeling China a currency manipulator had been a campaign pledge of Donald Trump's, as he accused China of, quote, stealing our business and factories. Meanwhile, Vice Premier Liu He is set to travel to Washington to sign that Phase 1 trade agreement, which will see new tariffs put on hold and more agricultural purchases. That's set to take place on Wednesday. Well, that report has boosted Wall Street. The Dow Jones rising, the S&P 500 hitting a new record high for the close there, and the Nasdaq up over 1% as Tesla shares rose sharply. We saw a flat close for the major European indices earlier on. Investors around the world keeping an eye on all those developments when it comes to the world's two largest economies. Well, here in France, talks about the plans to reform the pension system continue after a fairly major concession by the government this weekend. The head of France's largest union has welcomed the announcement by Prime Minister Edouard Philippe that he would abandon the so-called pivot age, which would have raised from 62 to 64 the age at which full retirement benefits can be collected. But the CFDT has warned that it is far from the end of the story, and more hardline unions say that concession is nothing but a smokescreen. They're calling for strikes and demonstrations to continue in the days and weeks to come. Moving on to some of the day's other business headlines now. Carlos Ghosn has filed a lawsuit in a French labor court asking Renault to pay his full retirement benefits. The former boss, who fled Japan while awaiting trial, says he never actually resigned from the French carmaker and is therefore owed 250,000 euros. He's expected to file a further claim for some 3 times that amount later this month. Ghosn denies all charges of financial misconduct. Meanwhile, Renault shares hit a 6-year low on reports that its Japanese alliance partner Nissan could be seeking to break up their partnership. The Financial Times first reported that senior executives at Nissan have ramped up their secret contingency planning, looking for a total divide in engineering and manufacturing. And Walmart has laid off more than 50 managers in India as it tries to restructure its business model there. The world's largest retailer is restricted from selling directly to consumers under Indian law, instead focusing on sales to small businesses. It has struggled to compete with Amazon and other e-commerce giants in India. Environmental protesters have criticized the German conglomerate Siemens for not pulling out of a controversial coal project in Australia. The company says it cannot disappoint clients and investors, while activists say it should be taking a moral stand against climate change. Sam Bradpeace reports.
Not a good look.
That is how climate protesters in Germany showed their disdain for engineering conglomerate Siemens, who have decided to carry on with a controversial coal project in Australia. CEO Joe Kaiser said there was no legally or economically responsible way to pull out of the €18 million contract to build rail signalling systems at a mine in Queensland.
While I do have a lot of empathy for environmental matters, I do need to balance different interests of different stakeholders.
The Carmichael mine is owned by an Indian company, Adani, and is set to become operational next year, producing up to 27 million tonnes of coal annually. Scientists say there is a clear link between fossil fuel use and the intensity of the fires burning their way through Australia.
It's a scandal for a company that says it wants to be carbon neutral by 2030 to continue supporting massive coal mining projects in Australia. We're talking about 60 million tonnes per year that they're helping extract.
Some shareholders are concerned by the reputational damage of Siemens' decision and have vowed to raise the issue at next month's annual meeting. It is too soon to know the exact cost of Australia's ongoing fires, but as the world is confronted with climate breakdown, it is unclear how much longer investors will be prepared to fan the flames.
There we go. More calls, Charlie, for corporations to really put their money where their mouths are when it comes to environmental protection.
Don't want to be in their PR team right now. Kate Moody with a look at the day's top business news. Thanks so much.